Welcome to the Dental Marketing Podcast, a podcast that helps dentists win in the online world of modern-day marketing. Each week, we cover the most cutting-edge marketing tactics and strategies that are working right now across our client base to drive leads, phone calls, and more new patients for dentists. Now, here's your host and founder of Kickstart Dental Marketing, Chris Pistorius.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Dental Marketing Podcast. I am your host, Chris Pistorius, and today I'm absolutely thrilled to be with the owner of the Dental Center of Jacksonville. I'd like to introduce Dr. Jignesh Patel. Sorry for butchering the name. I've tried to practice. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Yeah, so we were just talking about Jacksonville this time of year, and you said you're kind of right in the middle of the rainy season, huh?
Every day, every single day, rains and rains and rains.
Yeah. So as a dental practice owner, is that good for business or bad for business?
It doesn't really matter. Unfortunately, dentistry, people have pain, rain or sunshine. Nothing stops them from coming.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And, kind of along, I'm going to jump right into it here, but along those lines, we're talking, you look on the news and it's all doom and gloom with the economy and all this stuff. Do you believe that dentistry is recession proof, or what's your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't say recession proof.
Okay.
Obviously, patients financially, every decision they make in their life, whether they want to purchase a car, whether they want to purchase a house, it all has to be factored in with what is urgent, what could wait in dentistry, what is needed right away to be done, or can patient postpone it for 6 months or 8 months? Ultimately, anything they postpone that could have been done now would be delayed treatment, and then ultimately a small cavity becomes a big cavity.
Yeah.
So recession does affect dentistry, of course, absolutely. Nobody walks into the dental office and say that, hey, I'm just here to just know what I want to do.
Yeah.
They want to get their mouth fixed, just like anything in our body. We don't want it to go bad, but ultimately financially it makes a big decision, and the recession does put a big hamper on what they want to do.
Yeah, I would think that, and we experienced this a little bit with the COVID stuff, although it was a little different, but, people will put off more of the elective type stuff we found, like the higher end cosmetic, where it's not really even a health related matter. They just kind of want to look better. They kind of tend to put that off a little bit. Would you agree to that?
Yes, more than anything. I think the cosmetic side, it's absolutely going to wait for a majority. I would say good 95% of the people.
Yeah.
And that's basically what I would say it's considered during the recession. That is a good chunk. Like if they want to do whitening, or if they had to do veneers or anything to close the space, even orthodontics, if they want to do braces to, not just for looks wise, but even just to make their bite functional better. But if it's not hurting them, they will necessarily just rather wait for another year or so until this little fear of recession is over.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing with these, the media, I think always tries to blow things out of proportion because of course they want to sell advertising, and, people viewing their programs is what drives the advertising dollars. So, I've almost gotten to the point where I don't really watch the news at all anymore, but
depressing.
Yeah. I mean, you can't, and, me owning my business, I'm not sure that you can make decisions based off of what might happen. You've just got to go and deal with things as they come, So, well, how long now have you owned the Dental Center of Jacksonville?
I bought this practice in 2016 of July. So it's about 6 years and roughly a few months. I've owned this practice.
And what were you an associate before that, or what did you do before that?
Yeah, I was. So I graduated in 2012, and then I was an associate at a corporation called Greenberg Dental for 4 years. Until I finally said that I wanted to have my own practice so I can truly deliver the quality of the care that I wanted to do on my own, not go by what the rules and regulations corporations have nowadays.
Yeah. So for some dentists out there right now watching this that are kind of in that boat you were in, where they're kind of thinking about jumping ship because they want to do their own thing. Was that a scary process for you? I mean, was there a lot of thought that went into it, or did you just kind of go for it?
When you realize that you wanted to become a dentist to deliver a certain quality and you just can't, um, and you gave effort every year after year, year after year, learning your skills, building your knowledge, and having so many mentors over the years to help you guide to become a perfectionist, but you still can't deliver that level of quality in a corporation because you have to meet the numbers. You have a certain, just, unfortunately, they have their own goals that they have to meet. It doesn't matter. At that point, I basically realized, doesn't matter if that's who I went, to become a dentist, and I cannot deliver what I want to do. It was an easy decision. It was scary, of course, more than anything. Scary because you're starting all fresh. You just worked 4 years to become where you are, and now you have to start the slate clean. It was definitely one of the most scariest moment, for sure. Career.
Yeah.
In the career, of course.
Yeah, I remember when I started, I did a similar thing. I mean, I had a nice cushy job, 14 years ago almost now, and at the time, 2 little kids, right? And my wife is like, this better work or it's not going to be good. So it's a big jump for sure. And what we're seeing on the marketing side of things is that dentistry is more competitive now, I think, than it's ever been. Would you agree with that, just with the amount of new dentists making that jump, and then corporate dentistry is also starting to invade a lot of local areas? What do you think on that?
Corporate dentistry has absolutely outgrown, I would say, triple in numbers, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Basically, I can speak from my corporation. It was a very small corporation. However, by the time, when my 4 years, they went from 5 office to almost, closer 15, 20 office in town.
Wow.
It just tells you the number of percentage was almost threefold, 3 times. And that is 6 years ago. Nowadays, it's even worse. It's more.
Yeah.
Corporations are unfortunately taking over significant amount in the private sector of dentistry.
Right.
There's a significant amount of new influx of dentists moving to Jacksonville or any big metro cities.
Yep.
But there is a significant need for there's a shortage in the rural areas. It's just, unfortunately, we are not having those offices open in those particular areas where there's a huge need, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. We're up in the Denver area, our office is, and we're probably an hour or so from a city called Colorado Springs.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's one of the most competitive dental markets in the country because everybody wants to live there because it's a beautiful place and everybody wants to live there and everybody wants to open a dental practice. And we get calls all the time from practices trying to figure out how to compete. And, I think that just goes to your point of, there's select areas it's very overpopulated.
Sure.
But there's a clear message here to anybody thinking of opening an office. There is still a lot of opportunity out there, depending on where you want or are able to move to, right?
Yeah, I think if I had to start now, probably I would not think about opening in a big metro cities. Yeah. And you could be successful. Most likely you will be successful.
Yeah.
If you have a good team and good ethics, and more importantly, your skill wise, you know what you're doing. However, it will be a slow foundation building process.
Yeah.
Compared to if you take the same knowledge that you built and you had gone to somewhere a little bit away from a big metro city.
Right.
It's a big difference in terms of like excelling in your career slowly or quickly, depending on where you live.
Right. So you said, you brought up a good point and I always like to ask people this, if you had to do all over again, what would you do different? Well, one would be maybe not as such a big market. What's another thing you might change, in your last, 6 years or so of experience in running this practice?
I think being a business owner, there's a significant stress involved compared to working in a corporation where it's just a job. If you really just look at it as a job, just like anybody who works for a big corporation, it's just a job. You're 8 to 5. You come home, you go to work, and back to the same Monday to Friday routine. In far as changing, I wish everybody who starts new or had to start new, I would say you really have to find a work-life balance, because private
Yeah.
dentistry, it's way more stressful than anybody could imagine. Those patients, they're yours for life. They're not going anywhere until you retire.
Right.
I used to always think when people say, oh, I've been going to my dentist for 30, 35 years. And I know, because now when I start going to my medical doctors, or if I ever have to go to my CPA or anything, you want to stick to the same physician, same people for your own personal life. So you realize that they're in the same boat. They're looking for somebody good. And once they find that, they're looking up to you. So you have to work a lot of hours sometimes. Finding the good work-life balance is critical to be successful mentally, and not just from the personal life, but also so
Yeah.
you can practice for a long time, not get burnt out, because you will get burnt out in private dentistry very quickly,
Yep.
compared
Yep.
to corporations, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, now that you've scared about 50% of our audience away from actually starting their own practice, not just kidding.
I tell that to everyone. I tell that to everyone. It's worth it as long
Yes.
as you
Yeah.
find a good balance in life.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. I struggled with that with my business for a long time.
You spend countless hours, day in, day out,
Yeah.
night out till 11 o'clock. There are days I used to
Yep.
work till 11, 12 at night, and I'm like, you
Yep.
lose time from your family, your kids, everyone, doesn't matter,
Yeah. And, when I started this agency, all I really did was I created a job for myself. I didn't really create a business, right? Because I was, my job and my company was really my boss, and I was doing everything, right? And it wasn't until I really learned on how to delegate, hire correctly, and, build an actual business where I could step out of some of the administrative stuff and HR stuff and things like that. That's when you really, you can open up some freedom for yourself. But I struggled with that for heck years before I really figured it out. So I think that's great advice on, that balance of the work and life, and how to find that balance is key into, I was more of a control freak where it was hard for me to let go of certain things, right?
You want to be at 100%, not
Yeah.
99.9%. Not just to be successful, to be a better person. That's why we left a job to become on our own. But then we realized everything is on our shoulder. Everything is on our shoulder. You're right.
Yep. I've just talked to a practice, and it's pretty good size practice.
Sure.
And I called, not real big, but I called the practice, and the doctor answered the phone. I thought, well, they must be really busy. And we started talking, and he answers the phones.
Oh, wow. So that's crazy. I answer the emergency calls after hours and whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't know about the daytime. I'll be with a patient, but that's incredible. If he has time.
Right. And if they can't answer it, it just goes to voicemail. And I'm like, no, you've got to figure out a way to hire somebody, to free you up from that time, because, and he was doing all the follow-ups like on voicemails and stuff. And I mean, I was like, you've got to get out of that so that you can concentrate on what you're doing well. And he had that same problem I had, is just giving up that control, because, and I get it. He doesn't feel like anybody else can actually talk to patients as well as he could. Right.
At some level, I think it's true, because if the patient has anybody calls, they always have questions. Every patient calls in the beginning, they always have questions, whether it's an insurance question or, hey, I have this toothache or this. What do I need? What can I do? Obviously, the dentist is the best person to answer, but unfortunately, he has to be mentally available 8 to 5 as well.
That's right. I always like hey, doc, how much is an implant? I hear that all the time, right? He doesn't need to be answering those.
Yeah, we get that all the time, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, cool. All right. I think that's great advice. So, I like to ask, established practices now, kind of veterans. You're a veteran now because you've been in business for 6 years. In my realm, you're a veteran. And you've been successful. We talked about a couple of things that you would do differently, but what have you done right? What has gotten you to this point? Why have you been successful so far?
So I think our success, it has been, and I'll tell you, I say my success is our success as a team. Our team has been super from day one. Most of the people have been with me from the day they started their career.
Wow.
And they have sacrificed a lot. those girls and the guys who work with me together, they've made a huge sacrifices themselves over the years to learn their skills. And I'm a pretty hard teacher. Them to stick around with me.
Right.
And it's so once they, they become part of our team, this is their home. When they leave their home to come, they're not going to work, they're coming to another home. And they have been the most important reason for our success. It's the right people. And those people have been with me. Somebody like Dr. Barbilla, for example, I've known him for 23, 25 years of friendship.
Really?
Um, when you have a best friend working with you, it doesn't matter. Like there's nothing professional. We don't have to sugarcoat things. We can openly discuss cases
Yeah.
and have anything we want to say. We speak our mind, and that's the same goes for all my team. They're not like, I don't have to sugarcoat if there's something wrong or something went wrong. So we can make sure our patient get the best care, not a 99% okay care.
Right.
The best care.
Right.
And that goes from the front office to the back team, everyone.
Right. Right. I wrote that down. It's like coming to another home. That's pretty cool. I've never heard anybody say that, but that rings so true. And
yeah, I mean, I can tell you, like, I'm blessed with the people I work with. So I never ever have, oh my God, I have to go to work today.
Yeah.
Call the day. I'm just not, I think the only time I called off is if I truly, when the doctor says, hey, you have an injury, you have to stay home or anything XYZ. But I hardly ever, it's never been a nuisance to work with these people. They're just super bunch of people that I work over the years. And we have only grown from 2 people in the beginning to almost close to a 15-17% team.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, it's, a lot of my clients I've heard recently of it's hard to keep staff. It's hard, they're having problems with churn at the front desk and just, it feels like they're always training somebody new. And I think what you talk about when you can create kind of another home for them.
Consistency.
Yeah. I think
life easy, makes life very easy. Flexibility is a key. Look, we as myself as an owner, I can decide my schedule. Sure. I can say, I don't want to work this day. I want to work 3 days. I want to work 2 days. I want to work 5 days. Doesn't matter. But it is the same rule has to be applicable for the girls or the guys in your team. If they don't get flexibility and you're the only one having flexibility, soon enough, you're just a boss and they're just employees.
It builds resentment,
Resentment, or more importantly, and I always tell all my colleagues who want to open a new team or new office, I tell them, it's something I learned over the years. You can find skilled people or you can find quality people. Quality people with zero skills, you can train them easy. Just have to be patient and they'll be with you for life. And you can train them the way you want to train them.
Right.
Skilled people, not always skilled people. If you see someone's resume, they have changed jobs after jobs after jobs after jobs. It doesn't matter how well you take care of them or they take care of you. There's a good chance they might move on to another step at some point, and then you have to refill that position.
Right. Yeah.
Minimum turnover of a team is critical if a patient were to have a good experience, a good time in the practice.
Yep. I'm a big believer in that. We do that too. I mean, I'm like, we can teach anybody what we do, right? Sure. And because we've got our processes, our procedures all documented, we can teach that, right? But what we can't teach is somebody that's willing to learn, a nice, good person, right? A great attitude. It's hard to teach things like that. And, so I'm with you. I'm like, I'm fine with hiring people that necessarily don't have, 100% experience that we want.
Yeah.
Because,
No, you're right, because most of my people in the past, and that was the problem with the corporation, they would have so many turnover employees. Like you just can't, it's not their fault. It is just how the system is set up, unfortunately.
Right. It's ran on a spreadsheet, right? And so you try to get away with paying as less as you can to people to boost that profit and stock price and everything else.
Yeah, and people can't pay the bills all the time. People want to get paid fairly for their hard work. And at the end of the day, it is why, like I said, all these people that we work with, they really put the hard work in the beginning to be where they are today. I can't imagine a better team to be working with on a day-to-day life.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up in just a second, but I wanted to ask you about one more thing that we've noticed. We work with a lot of dental practices throughout the country, and what we've noticed post-COVID, if you will, is more practices going to a fee-for-service model versus accepting insurances. How has that? What's caused that, do you think, and how do you guys handle that personally?
So there are times, well, number one, post-COVID, everything has gone up. Everything has skyrocketed. Sure. We understood that during the COVID, the supplies costs were high. We get that. However, now those prices are set. The lab is no longer going back to the prices, or the supplies of general supplies, they're not going down just because COVID is down. Once those companies who sells us, the distributors who sell us the products, once they realize, well, these guys are buying at 4 times the price and they're not complaining now, why would they go down?
Right.
They are not going to go down. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And insurance companies only going year after year after year. Insurance companies just paying less.
Yeah.
Everything insurance company want to find a reason for just making the life so difficult for the patient. And ultimately, if we chose that, okay, hey, we want to do the right thing for the patients, but we got this gigantic, middleman such as insurance, who's the big roadblock for us. How do we overcome that? We can't. Either we take the insurance, or we drop some of the insurance who are just playing extremely tough. And then eventually these practices do get tired of dealing with the insurance. And they do go fee for service because they're forced to if they want to deliver the quality.
Right.
Luckily for us, majority of the insurance, I would say there's some insurance we have in the past limited, only because it just, we can't even, they can't even pay the minimum for what we want to do, for what we pay our staff and team members. And how do you even work with those insurance if they want to just keep lowering the fees and not even go with inflation? Inflation is a scary thing in dentistry.
Right. Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah, I hear you. Same, it's kind of going around, I think. Well, Dr. Patel, I know you're very busy, and I appreciate you, taking the time today. I'd love to, if it's okay, follow up with you in a few months and just kind of see how things are going, and maybe get a status check from you, and let our listeners and our viewers know. Would that be okay?
Absolutely. Pleasure is mine. Thank you for
awesome.
having me on today. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Patel. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Dental Marketing Podcast. Make sure to visit our website, www.kickstartdental.com/podcast, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Spotify, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you are ready to grow your practice, then you might want to schedule a free strategy session with us. Just go to kickstartdental.com and click the free strategy session button and give us 15 minutes of your time to change your practice forever. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode. And thanks for listening to the Dental Marketing Podcast by Kickstart Dental Marketing, where dentists go to win online.